Fellow heroes, I have recently been playing Pokemon Violet. That's the one that I got. I've been having a great time. I definitely recommend it, and if you're a fan of the series, go check it out. It's weird. It's got like a compelling story behind it, explorations, rewardable, and it is very glitchy. It is very glitchy. I thought the internet was kind of memeing on that. Nope, they weren't. But before I talk about that, for those of you, if you've been enjoying these videos that I've been putting out, the reviews or the gameplay stuff, a sub goes a long way. It helps me out a ton. If you could do that, and you won't miss out when they come out every Sunday, Monday. Sometimes I stay up late trying my best to write the scripts and edit, but it would go a long way, and I thank you and appreciate for all the support. Now, Pokemon Violet and Scarlet, I guess, they immediately kind of just they give you the tutorial, but they give you your legendary right off the bat. With this comes transportation. You can't really use it in battle. You're mainly just it's a bike. It's the bike before you even start the game, which it's cool. You used to have to earn that, but we'll get into more of that kind of stuff later. And it makes sense that they would give you the bike so early on, that the Pokemon would be a bike or a motorcycle, because it is an open world, and it's vast, it's big. Not as big as Breath of the Wild, but there is exploration to be had in this world. And when games go open world, I tend to, I don't know, I tend to be weary of them, or I don't like it when every game tries to be open world, because, there used to be a trend for a while, and a lot of times it's just left empty, and they just did it for the sake of saying they could have an open world. But Pokemon fits into this so naturally, because all that space just gets plopped in with the thousand of Pokemons to choose from. So whenever you're exploring the world, and you're always finding something new. You're always running into different types of Pokemon that fit their biome. And honestly, they really reward you for doing this. There are items everywhere. Too much. They encourage you to explore. I found myself going off the path way too many times just to pick up these items, because they will drop things, or they'll give you things that you won't find in the Pokemon store, the Pokemon Center. These things are definitely useful, because I found at like higher levels, once you kind of get out of the starting area, um, Pokemon get harder to catch, and you kind of need the right tools for the right job. Or I found myself using dust balls more, or net balls when needed, and it's really cool. And I like the fact that I can see the Pokemon. I'm glad that these past Pokemon games that have come out, they've all kind of, in a sense, accumulated into this game right here, where if I've already caught the Pokemon, then I kind of just ignore it and go past it, or I auto battle it so I can level up, which is a feature I definitely will get more into later on, because it kind of has to do with the quality of life of things. Now, uh, exploration and how you go about the world is almost seemingly an illusion. Like you're free to do what you want is kind of an illusion in the game. You are free to kind of grind out Pokemon experience, move to whatever area you want to do the gym battles whenever way you want to do. But Pokemon is very level dependent game, so there is kind of this gradual path that naturally takes shape if you want to progress the game, and I get in honestly probably the most efficient way of going about it. So whereas you could do what you want, it's better to kind of follow the path. Now, uh, the reason I'm saying this is because there are really three main quests, three main storylines that go on in this game. The first one being your traditional gym battles, where you kind of do like a mini game, where it's kind of like a hide and seek, or roll a giant olive through an obstacle course to fight your typical gym leader, who is type base, and you probably stronger than most of the Pokemon in the area that you fought. So, and then once you beat them, they give you kind of an upgrade to help you with your exploration in the world. Gym leaders give you it makes it easier for you to capture Pokemon at higher levels. So it's not as difficult. So basically, the Pokemon in that area that you beat them in are now easier to catch if you want to go back and farm some Pokemon or complete your Pokédex. Whereas they have the new feature, which Pokemon always kinds of does this with every game where they add a new gimmick or two. This one being these Pokemon monsters. I guess they are monsters. And there's these Pokemon that are just normal size, but grown like 100 times to 10 times their what they actually are. And instead of fighting multiple strong Pokemon, you're fighting one really strong Pokemon. It's kind of like a dungeon boss. It has multiple stages to it, but overall, they're pretty fun. They're good. It's cool fighting something that gigantic, but you see the moves kind of do their thing. Sometimes status effects. A lot of times just one hits you, but yeah, you know how it is. These guys give you upgrades to your bike, your legendary Pokemon. Whereas where we've seen in the trailers to the point where you can fly. So first it's boosting, then jumping, then so on and so on. Now I've played over 20 hours of the game, so I got kind of used to the repetition and the repeat of what was happening. And then they have kind of the Team Rocket of the area, the Team Star, the delinquents of the academy. And anytime you go through them, you tend to have to fight them, do an auto battle challenge where they give you like 10 minutes to beat an X amount of Pokemon. They're a lot like the gym leaders where it's type base, maybe probably a different type or subtype where you couldn't normally fit a gym. But the after you do the auto battle kind of mini game, you then fight I guess the gangster, the gang leader. And it's kind of weird because they have this big car Pokemon. I don't know if it's I think it's a Pokemon. I think it's the third evolution of a certain Pokemon, and you fight that, and it's based on that, and it's supposed to be really strong. So it's kind of a mix between gym leaders and the Titan Pokemons, where you fight off their best Pokemons, and then you fight their Titan-esque type of boss Pokemon. Make really kind of accumulation of everything that goes on in the game. I like them, but they themselves give you TMs, which are you can customize moves, so you can better have more different move sets, customize your Pokemon's moves more than you could before. As for the actual gameplay that goes on while you're exploring, it's relatively good. I mean, it's your same quirky Pokemon that we love, where you go around, you capture the Pokemon you like, or if you're a completionist, you can do that as well. The battling is all the same, and overall, the gameplay feels like Pokemon. We got the same moves, we got new Pokemon. It's a good time. It's enjoyable, and I think overall, like the foundation of what needs to be there is actually there. However, what kind of like I guess was seeping between the cracks, or is the quality of life. And I'm gonna kind of leave a disclaimer, asterisk, if you will, that what I'm about to talk about may sound a bit nitpicky. It's not as critical because I guess it's more subjective to the way that someone may want, how they would like to play the game. So this Pokemon game is kind of new from the ground up. I mean, we've had Arceus come out, and the other Pokemons have somewhat leaned into these other factors. And like I said, it's kind of a culmination of it all. But when it comes to quality of life, like I was saying, how the auto battling kind of replaces the times two or the sped up battles, where you don't really skip the animations, or the animations aren't really going faster, but you're kind of just letting the Pokemon duke it out for a little bit. It doesn't use your power points, your resources for the Pokemon, but you end up probably using more potions. I think that's a fair trade-off. There's also we've kind of already talked about the bike, but I feel like that's kind of a given based on how big the world is. And the world itself is built like a 2000 MMO game, so it's relatively flat. Like it's not like very vertical like how Breath of the Wild is, and there are some areas that are locked off. Whenever you obtain your better transportation, or you upgrade your legendary Pokemon, you can go back and grab those areas and items. But overall, the game looks decent enough for what it is, and the way that it's designed. There are some narrow pathways, there's tunnels, there's things all about. There's water, so it can be traversive, but at the same time, you're just kind of riding along. up on hills and things like that. As for when I was talking about how like there's a gradual path that you need to take, if you go to the Pokemon centers and ask for help, they will tell you the level appropriate area you're supposed to go to next, and they'll just direct you. And they'll also, even though the game tells you, hey, yeah, you can do all the team stars first, or you can do all the gyms first, if you take the path that the Pokemon Center tells you to take, which ends up making the game kind of linear, you do each one like one at a time. And with them comes kind of compelling stories that I wasn't expecting, some of which hit at your heartstrings, which was kind of nice to go through. I appreciated that. And finally, something that brought, I think, a little bit of controversy on the internet was the experience share. It's always turned on. Now this one is kind of a two-parter because uh yeah, that's different, and I'm using the word different, not good or bad, because you always have access to your Pokebank, your Pokeboxes. So swapping in and out of your Pokemon team is super easy, super convenient. You also can fast travel to any Pokemon Center that you've already discovered beforehand. So recovering Pokemon is really nice. And most of the time, me personally at least, I wouldn't EV train my Pokemon till endgame. And by then, I'm sure I'm going to have like the utmost maxed out transportation way of going through the game. So resource management kind of becomes nullified at that point as well. Basically, experience share to me didn't end up being that big of a deal, because if anything, if you are kind of one of the hardcore want to get into it Pokemon trainers, then I think EV training is potentially could be faster than it ever was before by taking, put a whole team of Pokemon that you want to get a certain stat, go auto battle those Pokemons that you can see. You don't no longer have to rely on RNG for that kind of stuff. And then, recall them. And you got a whole team of Pokemon that you just upgraded their speed stat or their special attack stat, or you can take out all your Pokemon out of the box and just have one Pokemon out and auto battle that one. So it's different, right? Overall, I, I, the way I see it, the way I see how Pokemon has kind of come to this game is a revamp to really Pokemon in a whole, and really that's coming with the auto battling stuff like that. But it's still all the same things that we love, right? With capturing Pokemon and leveling up Pokemon, and exploration is really fun and rewarding. It's nice running into new Pokemon or running into your favorite Pokemon out in the woods or out of the middle of nowhere. You got packs of Pokemon being taken care for by an evolved form of itself, giving you kind of a challenge if you really want to capture it. So as well as that immersion being broken by how glitchy the game can be, and it's really weird in those aspects. And there is a quality of life to the game, that so much so that if you are someone that's been playing Pokemon for a really long time, may have you sounding like a boomer saying, hey, back in my day, we used to have to earn our bikes. Though this game does bring with it so far a decent enough story that I'm actually interested to see more of. Overall, I'm having a great time playing Pokemon. It is a game that I do recommend, even with its glitches and things like that. This game is easily an 8 out of 10, but at the state that it's in right now, it's like a 6 or a 7. It's weird that Nintendo put out an unfinished product, and I it's been kind of memeable. Honestly though, with all the glitches that are in there, I haven't encountered anything game breaking, and I haven't seen anything online that's been game breaking. I've never had to like reset my game or go back to an old save profile. It's just that things will act weird, things will go missing, things will go weird. Sometimes you can capture a trainer's Pokemon. Just things just don't always work the way they're supposed to work, but you're always still able to continue and play the game. So take with that as you will. Tell me your thoughts below. And did you get the game? Did you enjoy it? Are you having a good time with it? Is this game too easy, or should they add more quality of life stuff? Until next time, play nice.